story begins from remains of another, with a crystal grown from a skull of a fox. Gems made from solitude and time, the largest rock now resting in the breast pocket of a very rich man. Gifted to him from a strange woman, he pocketed his own knot in time. Underwhelmingly out of place, unknowing what he holds, it sits, waiting. The man went about his days as any other. He worked constantly, spent money mindlessly, and did just that, again and again. He lived as if this routine was the cure for fleeting time, but all the time he had left sat in his breast pocket. One morning, he took the crystal out. It intrigued him in a new way. It wasn't outwardly spectacular. He spun it on his raven ring to think, what to do with you? He didn't like how it halted his thoughts, this worthless stone. Suddenly, it stopped spinning. It floated unaware of any rules. It began to glow, brighter and hotter, overwhelming him with refracted bits of light. The room snapped dark and went cold. He lost sight of the walls and ceiling. It looked like a simple theater setting for a kitchen scene. But this was not his kitchen anymore. It was just pretending, he thought. His ears began to pop from the change in pressure, and he found himself holding things down that began to float. He picked them down again and again. The milk that had gone sour, his cup now empty, his spoon, his cat. Silence he hadn't felt, maybe ever, overcame him louder than he knew. His heartbeats were the only indication of time. A broken watch replaced with feeling, just that. He felt watched. He sprung from where the door should have been, but he didn't move. His feet were stuck, not glued to, but part of his floor, part of a shingle, which was part of a roof. And he felt the size of a tick. He fell out of his daze and noticed a helmet. I should leave, he thought, but he remained stuck as he tried, then stared back at the helmet. What if I picked that up? I wouldn't care to, but what if I did? It was old, rustic, and gold, like from a Jules Verne book about space and sky, he thought. Both cold like this, dark, weightless. His feet found their way over. He had walked, but realizing this, he was stuck again. That was the most curious thought he'd had in a while, yet the only one that let him move. He put the helmet on, and he saw the night sky as a compass, the dials moving as he looked. The stars had names and shapes. He could have lived in this moment, and he let himself. Then, a small white dot grew, slowly overtaking his view. Panic didn't set in until too late, and the star ripping him into orbit. He floated around the newly formed moon, circling it slowly. His shock only followed by a clearness of thought. He hadn't thought a thought in his head. He simply floated. He felt his attention drawn back. The crystal was warm. It began to sprout a warm moss that turned into fur. It slowly breathed, holding a now sleeping fox. It yawned awake and looked at him. Unfazed, the fox jumped to the moon, and he chased after it without hesitation. He had control of his body once again. This is something he'd never done. like the kid he forgot he once was, hopping craters and feeling cold air poke his lungs. The fox found a patch of roots and ran inside. The man stopped outside and looked in. The fox's eyes peered back, and he knew it would never leave. He would have never left, he suddenly thought. He looked up and felt the stars. He felt the possibilities around him, and he took the first unknown step.